Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 2016 One Nation of Gamers circuit. My name is TJ, and I'm joined by none other than the Tannen Grace. How you doing today, man?
Dude, I'm doing great. I can't wait. First standard tournament I'm getting to cast, and I get to cast it with you, TJ. I'm super excited.
Yeah, it should be great. Standard has been fun. I know I've been playing it a lot, and it's going to be cool. We've seen a couple tournaments so far that have sort of seen the meta, but the meta is definitely not stable. So it's going to be interesting to see what is going to happen today. But keep in mind, guys, this is the Open tournament number 5, I do believe. So that means we're just about halfway through the One Nation of Gamers circuit. Of course, this is going to lead into the feature tournament. The next feature tournament is going to be feature tournament number 3. So lots on the line for these players. We have 4 players today. So basically the top 4 from the open tournament that happened yesterday. We have Chessdude, we have Pacoima, and then the second semifinal is going to be Prophecy versus Shoop. So right off the bat, Tannen, let's talk about these players a little bit. Any of these players, any of these names really stand out to you so far?
Definitely Chessdude, and I know you're a big fan of his as well. I mean, he had a great run at the NA regionals. Who could forget the story about his dad? The support that he had to play, and then let's not forget this is probably one of the smartest guys around in the Hearthstone scene too. I don't know if he's a grandmaster in chess, but I know that his rating is absolutely just absurd. And let's not forget how young he is either. He's just I think a high school senior as well, so very impressive. What about you?
Yeah, Chessdude. Of course, Shoop as well is going to be playing in the second semifinal. Shoop is currently, as of right now, I believe the leader in Geico points. Astrogation is pretty far up there. Of course, your teammate Astrogation is pretty far up there in Geico points as well. So he's got a shot. But Shoop has been around the One Nation of Gamer circuit since last year in the 2015 summer circuit. So Shoop plays in these ONOG tournaments all the time. He makes it to the top for all the time. And he's definitely going to be one of the players to watch, not only today, but moving forward into the next feature possibly, and of course maybe even that grand finals at PAX Prime at the end of the year. So while we're talking about the grand finals at PAX Prime, we should also talk about the sponsors that of course make this possible: Geico, Video Game Voters Network, and of course CyberPower PC. If you guys want more information about the tournament, you can head over to geico.onog.gg. Of course, on that website, it's really, really easy to get a Geico quote. Geico has some of the cheapest and best insurance in the business right now. And I actually just found out that you can actually insure your PC with Geico. They offer renter's insurance. So if you are a renter, if you rent an apartment or rent anything, you can insure everything inside of your apartment with Geico, including your PC. So pretty crazy stuff. It's really easy to get a quote. Just head on over to the website and click the get a quote button right below the first page. Also, we have banners down below. Also, right on that main page there, you can enter in for a chance to win a CyberPower Gamer Extreme PC. So make sure you guys do that as well. But lots more open left. There's a $60,000 total prize pool for this circuit, and 1,000 of it's going to be given away today in this open. So let's start talking about the first matchup: Chessdude versus Pacoima. I know it's hard since Standard was just released, and it's hard to sort of pinpoint these classes, but both players bringing Mage. Tannen, what do you think these mages are?
I hope his Yoggs are on, and I hope someone gets pyroblasted in the face, like honestly by their own guy. But let's be real, it's probably some form of tempo mage. It's not just the freeze mage mirror match, because that's what everyone thinks is the best deck to start with going into standard, because it probably lost the least out of all the decks that are set on. So I gotta think that it's freeze mage, but I'm hoping for no mirror here. What about you?
Yeah, it's Tempo Mage is pretty cool. I know there's some high legend players that finished in the top 100 that ran Tempo Mage. There's also a lot that ran Freeze Mage. I think Nubal finished number 1, and he was running Freeze Mage for a lot of it. So basically, the only tool that they lost was Mad Scientist, which is a pretty big deal, but still, it's not nearly as big as cards as some other classes lost. So we'll definitely have to see. I know a lot of people have sort of been on the Miracle Rogue train, either the Malagos version or just the Gadgetzan Cold Blood version. And Chessdude is known as a Rogue Master, so that'll be interesting to see how that's going to fare. And I really don't know what kind of warrior is going to be running. We've seen all kinds. We've seen Cthulhu control. We've seen regular control. Patron has been really popular, especially in some of the other standard tournaments that have been happening. So it's just, I don't even know what to expect, to be honest.
Yeah, I saw a lot of Patron myself on the ladder the last couple of days. The new Bloodhoof card and Blood Dicker and stuff is really popular. I'm interested to see what Paladin deck that is. I got to believe it's the Death Rattle Paladin that's becoming pretty popular. So looking at these guys' lineups and the decks they have, I expect a lot of these games to go pretty long. What do you think?
Yeah, I tend to agree. Shoop later on is a player that tends to play quicker decks, but Chessdude is definitely a very fast player. Or sorry, very control-oriented player. Complete opposite of fast player. So he likes to play the freeze mage. He
can play the control deck fast.
Yeah, he can play the control deck fast, but he's not even. He doesn't even actually play his hands fast. He plays his hands incredibly slow as well. He likes to take his time. So Pacoima I don't necessarily know a lot about, but the N'Zoth Paladin has been one of the decks that a lot of top tier players have been experimenting with and having a lot of success with. I know Strife Crow is a player that is playing that a lot, and Tides of Time I think finished in the top 10 or top 20, playing mostly a Death Rattle and N'Zoth Paladin. So that'll be cool to see. And what have you seen anybody play your Sarge? The fourth old god that nobody seems to pay attention to. He's the 10/10 that at the end of your turn he summons a card from your deck into the battlefield. Have you seen that at all?
Honestly, no, and I'm a little disappointed because I want my opponents to have that card in their deck because that means they're probably drawing dead. That card does not seem very good to me. I have seen it once, and he got probably the best minion out of his deck. Like he got another giant big guy, and then I just killed him on the next turn. So it seems a little slow to me, but it seems like this set is like 3.5 old gods to me.
Yeah, he's just there chilling off to the side. Maybe we'll find a deck with him, but at the moment he's like a worse off Varian Rin because sometimes you don't even get the chance to like draw spells, or sometimes like you said it's just a dead draw. You pull like a Loot Hoarder out of your deck or something like that. But he does have a big body. The most fun old god I think so far has definitely been, you talked about a little bit earlier, Yogg-Saron. Yogg-Saron is just no matter in what situation he's played in, he's always fun. Unless it's been like no spells, but why would you put Yogg-Saron in the deck if you're not going to play spells? So it looks like we are jumping in. So it's going to be Pacoima playing I'm going to guess Paladin based off of the cards in the deck, and Chessdude throwing out the Rogue first. Yeah,
this looks like it could be Paladin, but I'm interested to see. That's a Gadget Sand Jouster. It's kind of like a replacement for Zombie Chow, right? We don't have that card anymore, and this is something I actually thought about playing myself. And then from Chessdude, like we said, I fully expected some form of Miracle Rogue. We don't know if his top end goes all the way up to Malagos or what yet, but I think this is one of the decks that a lot of the top pros are saying might just be one of the best decks right now, especially in tournament play. And that's the Rogue deck.
Yeah, it is very tough to navigate, though. One of the things about this deck is if it doesn't run Malagos, it doesn't really run a classic win condition like most Miracle Rogue lists in the past have run. It doesn't run like Southsea Deccan and Faceless, or Leroy and Faceless, or if it doesn't run Malagos, it doesn't run a lot of burn spells. It's basically just a lot of strong minions, Gadgets and Auctioneers, and tons of cycle. So basically they just power you out of the game. They just strong arm you out of the game with minions and maybe a giant Concealed Van Cleef, something like that. So it's tough to navigate because you really have to be patient with your damage. But with the Sinister Strike, it looks like it's probably going to be Malagos.
Yeah, you don't really see Sinister Strike outside of that deck too much. And I mentioned Zombie Chow. It looks like we're getting a really good impression of it here with no drawback. And Pacoima's deck has one of my favorite combos in it in the history of Hearthstone. It's really OG. It's got Humility and Stampeding Kodo. I mean, this is something we saw in like the first runs to the first BlizzCon.
Yeah. And then like the Fight Night, the ESGN Fight Night, those very...
That's even before my time. You were showing your age here, TJ.
Yeah, I've been in the Hearthstone scene for, I want to say too long, but I guess not long enough is better because it's been a wild ride.
It can never be too long, right?
Yeah.
Like for me, it's like I feel like I haven't been in it long enough, So it definitely can't be too long for you.
Yeah, I've seen 4 iterations of Unleash the Hounds. That's how long I've been in.
I've only got 2.
Yeah, so it's been quite a long time. But yeah, with such a heavy deck, I guess Gadgetzan Jouster ends up being pretty good most of the time. It's a really cool tech inclusion. But yeah, this does look like it is going to be N'Zoth Paladin, especially since we saw Sylvanas. We're seeing Karin, Doomsayer, just trying to get to that late game. And N'Zoth is such a huge win condition.
I'm kind of glad that you're here and you're such an old man when it comes to the scene. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and put that out there because this feels like original Hearthstone. We have a Karin on one side of the board and we have Miracle Rogue on the other side. Doesn't this just, bring you back to, back in my day, people used to, have a cheaper Gadgetzan Auctioneer and draw 17 cards in a turn.
Yeah, but the win condition's not there. Back then, Miracle Rogue was oppressive. Miracle Rogue was ridiculous. It was absurd. You'd have to go fast, though. Nowadays, with Gadgetzan Auctioneer, you can take your time. You can draw. You can see what you're getting. Back then, you had to go because once you draw on that Leroy, you had to wait for those Shadow Step animations to go off. So nowadays, it's not quite as bad. But Chessdude, faced with a difficult decision here. He doesn't want to use his damage spells. That's the big thing. So I'd imagine he's just going to attack and re-dagger up, even though it seems like a weak play.
Yeah, I mean, you can get a lot of tempo off of something like Sap or Eviscerate here because you're going into, your turn 5. You want to have as good of a board as possible to play this Azure Drake onto, but, at what cost? You're spending one of your premier spells here on a 1-drop from the Paladin deck, and you know that there's going to be so many big drops out of this deck. I mean, you saw a Ragnaros off of your Joust earlier in the game. There's multiple 8 drops, and there's at least one 10 drop in this deck, so things like Sap just go up so high in value in this matchup.
Yeah, wow. He actually does decide to use his Eviscerate. It seems a little bit interesting. I guess the main way you win this matchup is just by sticking lots of stuff to the board because the one-turn kill plan is sort of out the window now, it seems, with an Eviscerate gone. And with no Blade Flurry left in that can hit face, at least, in these rogue decks, Malygos becomes less of a threat later on once you know that burn spells are out of the way.
Yeah, maybe he's thinking, he needs to play a tempo game, just, get something going, get repetitive sources of damage, because if you're familiar with this Death Rattle Paladin deck, it has a ton of healing in it. Just this deck's going to stay above 20 almost the entire game, and if it dips below there, it's going to get itself right back up. So he's got to find repetitive source of damage, so maybe he's not banking on getting that one big, huge turn to win.
Yeah. And that's exactly what he's going to do. He's just going to keep going for tempo, going as far as to use a prep,
and a backstab in the same turn. You're just giving up so much value down the line. And yeah, I can't see him using the backstab just yet.
Yeah, I think at the end there, he was deciding whether or not to use his dagger charge or to use the SI agent to kill it off, thinking he was going to need his dagger charge. But especially nowadays when you don't run
in their hand, if you give up a prep and a backstab in the same turn, you're just giving up so much value down the line. And yeah, I can't see him using the backstab just yet.
Yeah, I think at the end there, he was deciding whether or not to use his dagger charge or to use the SI agent to kill it off, thinking he was going to need his dagger charge. But especially nowadays when you don't run nearly as many weapon buffs, getting in the attacks while you can, and using your health as a resource against a deck that is not going to kill you with repetitive damage. They're going to kill you all at once when they summon all their stuff back with N'Zoth. So I definitely like to see the attack with the weapon there. And here's that Stampeding Kodo.
Yeah, one of my favorite cards ever in the history of Hearthstone. Anybody who knows me knows that I actually just love this card. I actually have a physical copy of this card in real life. Like someone made me one.
Oh man, that's try hard if I've ever seen it for liking a card.
It's some dedication to the Stampeding Kodo.
Yeah.
And here we go. We got a second Azure Drake making his backstab quite powered up here, and he's gonna be able to use his dagger to clear the way. And we're seeing Chessdude's plan from what looked like early on. He's just gonna try to tempo out the Paladin deck here because short of equality, he doesn't have his way of dealing with Azure Drakes right now. He really needs True Silver Champion a lot, and he just hasn't found one.
Yeah, he also doesn't have a way to board clear. He doesn't have a way to deal with like a concealed auctioneer, or he doesn't have a way to deal with just a big board. He does have Consecrate, so if he draws into equality, then he'll have a board clear. But at the moment, he just doesn't have any way to stop all this incoming damage, and he hasn't reached the point where he can start playing his heals, his Land Hands, his Ragnaros the Light Lord, his Forbidden Healing, which I'm sure he has at least one of in somewhere in this deck. Oh, well then.
Yeah, there's the other prep. Now, do you think this is something that Chessdude might actually be doing? He's trying to get that equality out of Pacoima's hand, so he knows that the coast is clear to keep his Auctioneer around. But with the way this game is playing out and the read you're getting off of Pacoima's hand, is it time to actually just start pushing here?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. Even if right now he's going to be drawing at least 3 cards from the Gadgetzan Auctioneer, and also pushing 8 damage and getting rid of his opponent's board. So this is, even if your board gets cleared next turn, you're really not that upset about it because you're putting yourself in such a good position. And he is going to do that.
He also just picked up a lot of extra. Yeah, he just picked up a lot of extra damage. You found the second Eviscerate here. He gets a 5 damage Signature Strike, getting extra value off these Azure Drakes too. I mean, he's got Pacoima down to 12 already, and he has 12 power in play. Pacoima does not have an equality anywhere, and you know that he has Doomsayer. What does he do to get out of this?
I have no idea. I think you're just dead.
Yeah.
You can coin out Ragnaros the Light Lord, or you can coin out Tyrion. But either way, both saps are gone. So maybe Tyrion is an option. But with Auctioneer sitting on the board, your opponent, as long as they have 1 spell in their hand, which it's a rogue, he's going to have 5 cards rolling in the next turn. He's going to have a spell. You know that you're pretty much, the game's over. So I don't know what Pacoima can do here. And Chessdude might not even be running Malagos. It's likely that he is, but he might just be running Sinister Strike for damage, because Sinister Strike is 3 damage to the face for 1 mana, whereas Cold Blood requires a combo for 4 damage and Dominion. So maybe he just decided there is a flexibility with the 1 spot. I know that some players have been running Journey from Below or Journey from Below. Yeah, the 1 mana Discover Death Rattle.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and you almost always get the Rogue Legendary as well. So it's actually not a terrible card. I mean, every time I've seen it, I've been like, oh, this doesn't look great or whatever, but it has actually just been pretty good. And this looks like 18, 19, 20 damage pretty easily for Chessdude here with Eviscerate and SI7 Agent. So it's going to be a quick, easy win here. You see the tempo from Miracle Rogue just kind of running over the slow draw here from Pacoima, and not having an equality early in this game, any way to clear the board. You see the power of Gadgetzan Auctioneer when it's left on the board. It's the worst feeling in all of Hearthstone.
Yeah. And exactly, Thul. I mean, he even had Dagger Up Deadly Poison at the end there to push an extra 3 damage. So Chessdude playing that matchup incredibly well, and that goes to show his Rogue Mastery. There was a couple of interesting plays early on. You're playing against a slow deck, using Eviscerate on a 2-3, but he knows how much damage he needs to piece together by the end of the game. He knows the win conditions, and you said it earlier, playing for tempoing out a really slow deck is definitely a good game plan. So really well played, and he's going to take a 1-0 lead in the series.
Yeah, thinking about it, just common plays that could happen, if Rogue ever gets to stick a minion to the board, let's say on turn 5, 6, 7, 8, they stick an Azure Drake and anything else, and they're pushing a little bit of damage, and they have pressure on the Paladin deck, and then they have to spend their entire turn playing Lay on Hands, just to kind of keep themselves at a safe pace and draw 3 cards. That's so much initiative given back over to the Rogue. No deck punishes you more than for leaving its minions around than the Rogue deck. So the more I think about it, the more I think that matchup might actually be pretty favored to the Rogue if they get a decent enough draw. And I mean, Sap just seems insane in that matchup as well.
Yeah, the Rogue deck seems like it's doing well against a lot of control decks. I was talking with people yesterday and spectating some players in the last day of the season, which is, the day where you find the most competitive ladder decks because everybody's tryharding. And a lot of people that were targeting control were playing Rogue, or just playing slower control.
Super value control, go to turn 20.
Yeah, or like N'Zoth Paladin is sort of the end all be all. Even just Death Rattle Rogue is sort of like N'Zoth Rogue is an even slower form of control, where you just go all the way into the top end and play that way. So there's been a lot of different decks sort of popping up. I'm really excited to see prelims in a few weeks as well, and how the decks are going to shape up then, because 2-3 weeks into a meta is probably the most exciting because the meta is formed, but there's still room for crazy decks that can break that meta. And so one player can take a completely different lineup to a tournament and win the whole thing because they next leveled the meta, so to speak.
Oh no,
cool.
I completely agree. Yesterday was a Watchstone day for me as well. I definitely was just birding a lot of my friends and stuff to see if they could make top 100 and just to see what decks were out there, kind of as a, like preparation for today. And I gotta say, I'm a little surprised to not see Shaman a lot today because I felt like at the top tables, it was a lot of Shaman, a lot of Patron, and then the two decks we just saw here. And there's a couple of different versions of Shaman too, and these decks seem pretty strong. So pretty surprised to see zero of that so far.